So, hello and welcome to another episode of the Worldcraft Club, a show for writers, game masters, and other storytellers who want to create rich, immersive worlds for their audience to get lost in time and time again. I'm your host, James, and today we've got something a little different cooked up for you. You see, in the Discord server, which you should totally join, there's a link in the show notes, we are all about traditions. On your birthday, you name the meme channel. I'm sure there's plenty of others. And one of them is every year we do a breakdown of a children's TV show for our April Fool's episode, and this is that episode. What began as an excuse for me to talk about kids' TV shows in crushing analytical detail continues to be an excuse for me to talk about children's TV shows in crushing analytical detail. And today we've got one special one for you because we are going to talk about Phineas and Ferb, the Disney show, which began its 4-season run with 223 episodes, including 2 movies, 6 video games, way back in 2007 with a pop punk theme tune intro to prove it. Also happens to have a new series planned in the near future. This show is hilarious. It has miles of heart, but how did it world build? Dear viewer, we are ready to answer that question, so brace yourself for the insightful analysis on this incredible show from our panelists. And to kick us off today, we have AJ, who you may know as Editor AJ. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us your favorite character on Phineas and Ferb?
Hello, I am Editor AJ. I have been editing the YouTube channel for the Worldcraft Club for a little while now. Yeah, I have been watching Phineas and Ferb pretty much since it started. Actually, I saw it on TV as it was airing.
Oh, man.
And we recently rewatched through it with our son Xavier, who's 9 now.
Yeah. That's premium Phineas and Ferb age.
Yeah. Now he loved it. My favorites, just to keep us rolling, my favorites were a tie actually between Isabella and Jeremy. The two love interests in it. Both of them are incredibly patient, and they're respectful of the quirks of their love interests in it.
Yeah.
And they're extremely resourceful, both of them. Any time that they pop in, there's always something that they're able to help with the main cast. So those are my favorites.
Perfect. Now, Dave, producer Dave, what you got? What's your favorite character?
I am producer Dave. We actually, my wife and I had never watched Phineas and Ferb, and then we got Disney Plus, and we're like, we have young kids. This show was really popular, and it became just a thing. Like the whole family watched it, like around dinner time for pretty much till we got through the whole series. Um, but yeah, I'd have to say, I mean, I guess this is kind of basic, but my favorite is Doofenshmirtz.
It's a good call.
I am a I am such a fan of like that whole just pulp and action adventure kind of stuff that just Dr. Doofenshmirtz as like like everything else in Phineas and Ferb, he's kind of just poured out of a can. Like he's really a stock character, and then they just do so much with it. Like way beyond that show is so much better than it should have been. Like it's truly a work of
Yeah,
art.
on the alignment chart, so many characters fall under the sympathetic deranged kind of like quadrant of the chart, but Doofenshmirtz definitely fits there for sure. Candace as well is the other sympathetic deranged character. So, Joe, Stoic Simeon on the server, what you got for us? Who's your favorite?
Yeah, I would have to say that it's Perry the Platypus.
Oh, good sound call.
And it's not just because he has the impossible to imitate little
I've been
shitter.
trying so hard.
Like
D. Bradley Baker.
Like I've been trying for like days now to get it down, and it's no.
Yeah.
I mean, Doofenshmirtz is a maybe.
Yeah.
But like Perry the Platypus is just impossible. I mean, outside of the fact that the platypus is my favorite mammal, present company excluded. I mean,
Nice.
I mean, he's I mean, because
It's all of us, and then Perry.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but he's a platypus, which means he can lay eggs. He's got venom.
Semi-aquatic egg-laying mammal.
Semi-aquatic egg-laying mammal, exactly. I mean, that's like
Of action.
you can't beat it. But also just the fact that
They don't do much though.
No, I mean, but I mean, he is a secret agent. He is. You could call him a little bit stoic. Like he doesn't say anything.
True.
So yeah, exactly. He never says anything, but he's also like he develops that relationship with Doofenshmirtz over the course of the show, and then at the end of the show, Doofenshmirtz, spoiler here, he kind of decides to hang up his hat from the whole villain thing, because they're like, oh, wait a minute, you're just being a villain because you need like something, right? And he's like, no, you don't have to, which is a great moment with his daughter as well. And then, but Perry's right there with him. Like, there's like, oh, you need help building this thing? And Perry's like, yeah, sure, I'll help you, buddy, because it's just you and I. Like, it's just we are the only things that the other one has. And it's a line that runs through the whole show, and I think it's great.
Yeah.
That's so
yeah.
cute.
And OWCA, the organization without a cool acronym,
Yeah.
like is right up there as my favorite acronyms of all time.
It is really solid. They just their level of commitment to the bit is always something that just really satisfies me. About that, there is always payoff. If you watch things happening in that show, they will come back.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now Steph, who cannot be fired, our glorious moderator on the server.
Hello, I am Steph. I am one of the mods of the Discord. I love running and experiencing TTRPGs. My favorite Phineas and Ferb character is Vanessa.
Fair.
She's sort of a niche character. I like her because she helps to be sort of like a foil to Doofenshmirtz in some way, because like she allows him to do something else other than just build an Innator that's eventually going to fail, right? It shows like a totally different side of him as a character, which I think is really great for his development, because you just see him trying over and over again to basically wreak vengeance on his brother Roger, or the school bully, or anyone within that wronged him.
Erase his girlfriend's messages. You see a giant magnet on a helicopter. Sorry.
But Vanessa exists to show like the caring dad side, and like the episode where he wants to make like a really great birthday party for her is just really touching.
It is, and Perry helps.
And Perry helps, and I just love that having her be a character in the show gives him the opportunity. Plus, she's like just this cool goth teenager that is almost like a parallel to Candace too, because she tries to prove to her mom that her dad is evil. And
the Busted song.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Yes. Top tier television right there.
Yeah, I've got to say, like, this is like, I've been thinking about what my favorite character is, right? Like, and it's hard because the reality is that if any of you had said literally any character, everyone would have gone, oh yeah. You know what I mean? It's like there's not a way to avoid it. It's got to be Candace. I adore Candace because she just has this incredible deranged manic laugh when she's about to get them, and like part of you is just like, you need to catch them. And just the fact that like everybody seems to be so tolerant and patient with her just complete mania through the show. And it's just so it's really funny because in all the things, it's like Phineas and Ferb literally build a roller coaster and she still looks like the crazy one. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what.
Yeah.
And like, I think the close second for me is their mom, whose name escapes me. I apologize, Mrs. Finn. Linda. She's just living her life, man. She's doing cooking classes. She's running errands. She just has a good time. She's got a band. Like, she just seems like to really genuinely adore her children. And her husband. Like they just like, it's actually just like a very sweet family. and like I just enjoy her. Like I think she's cool. But yeah, it is genuinely, it's hard to pick a favorite character because the show did just such an incredible job laying everything out. So with that, we move to the question of world building in the show. All right, like this is just, I feel like this is going to be an interesting question to kind of like work through, because the show sort of just builds upon itself over time, and there is an established lore that takes root through the course of the show. But more importantly, there is a background of immersion. There is a thing that's happening in this show consistently. And so since we started out with AJ, we're going to go in reverse alphabetical order. I'm going to kick this one off with Steph, who cannot be fired. Steph, what does Phineas and Ferb nail with world building? Because that's what the people want to know. It's what they asked and what we're answering.
I was definitely gonna go with Alka for that one. I feel like the structure of Alka is pretty well established, right? Like one secret agent for one evil villain, and
an animal with a trilby each time.
Yeah, every time. and
Usually
particularly interesting, the episode where Perry goes to England and he has to work with a human who's clearly modeled after James Bond, and it's like, oh, in England they have human agents, which is normal and logical, but they definitely are very self-aware in that episode about the fact that it's kind of weird that they have animals as secret agents, but you know, it was easy enough for the mammal, right? That line is just pristine, where the James Bond character is confused and Perry knows exactly what's going on immediately.
100%. Like it's interesting. Like the zombie episode, the Night of the Living Pharmacists, which is just exceptional, features like Alka gets compromised and all of them turning to pharmacists, and they're chasing Perry around. It's like a whole army of these trained animals. And like I'm pretty sure Alka, this is partly leads into my unhinged conspiracy theory. I'm pretty sure Alka is literally just Monogram training animals with like an intern. Like, because they repeatedly demonstrate that Alka has like no infrastructure. It's just him turning up on the mic, and it is unclear how they built all of the stuff they built, but like there's just no one else there. It's just Monogram and a bunch of animals and like an intern who reads him stories when he's sick. Like,
but they do have a robust employee handbook.
Carl is a gem.
Carl is a
Carl
gem.
Carl is a gem.
Carl is a gem. I love it. He's doing my arms. You see? The thing is, they do it again and again and again. And it's like he still thinks it's funny like every time. And it's like they have so many wait, move the camera jokes where it's like they tune out and it's just them all dancing in a room with like a bunch of girls. They're like, oh wait, zoom the camera in. And he like gives a brief. Doofenshmirtz probably up to something. And then zooms back out and they're just partying again. Like,
yeah, that's right.
It's apparent that it's like a garage that they're in, and they just have like a backdrop down like a YouTube banner. But I think they have a building as well somewhere in downtown. They have a building, which
they show the Alka building when Doofenshmirtz works for them for a short period of time.
So my background, I haven't actually seen all of it. What I've done is I went through the best episodes list provided generously by Joe on the server, and I watched through the best episodes, and I've been watching through it serially with my son starting in season 1. So I'm nearly through season 1. So I've seen like a lot of the best of stuff. But the best part is that I've seen some of the jokes they laid up way later, and then gone back and go, oh, that's where Norm came from. And it's like it is a different experience watching it. But speaking of Joe, what you got, Joe? What does Phineas and Ferb nail with world building?
Yeah, so I think the best thing that they did with world building is they kept it simple. You know, they put the guardrails on it, and the crossover episode, season 2, episode 1 of Milo Murphy's Rules, or Milo Murphy's Rule.
Law.
Yeah.
The Murphy's Law. Well, they referenced Milo Murphy's Rule, which is Murphy's Law, and then the episode was the Phineas and Ferb effect. And in that episode, they actually talk about Milo Murphy has this field that he emits where anything that can go wrong does go wrong. And then throughout the episode, they figure out that Phineas and Ferb emit the inverse
That
field.
makes total sense.
So anything that can go right does go right. Because, I mean, like, you think about, like, oh, these 4 kids of indeterminate age, you know, they're flying around on scooters that are hoverboards, and they're splitting across, you know, and none of them fall off, and nobody dies. And, you know, they do all these crazy things, but it's all realistic because they always stick to the principle of whatever can go right does go right around Phineas and Ferb. And I think it's simple, and it's you know, they have a lot of other through lines that go all the way through, but that one was just like it stood out to me
I really like
as
that.
like, you know, it's basic. It's what are the guardrails on your world? Well, everything always goes right around Phineas and Ferb,
That's cool.
and it's
Yeah.
everything else kind of branches out from that. Like, you know, the fact that they really don't have any concerns around money or materials or damage or like none of those things. It's because if they want to build a spaceship to go into space, to have an outer space, you know, roller coaster or whatever it is, oh well, it'll work out.
Yeah.
They'll
And
figure it out.
I explain how the rest of it works when we talk about the conspiracy theory.
I
So
like this.
I'll save that until
Tease
then.
that. You're gonna tease us. I like that. All right, so Dave, what you got?
So I have to say, I think the best world building. This is kind of like, I don't know if this is kind of opposed to Joe's answer, or if it works along with it. But I think my favorite is just that like thing about it is that anything is possible. Like
Yeah.
they can just not only can the boys build technology that is essentially magic. Like it makes no sense.
There's no
like
reason
you
for them
can't
to go
build.
back to school. It makes no. They should not be in school.
No,
Like,
they
sorry,
don't-
Kara.
they probably don't need that.
Why would you
Um,
stop
but-
them
but,
doing
like-
whatever they're doing? Like, carry on. Sorry.
But like Doofenshmirtz kind of has the same. He has the same ability.
He is
He
brilliant.
just uses them. He just uses them for evil, and like he can build a ray that will, whatever he wants the ray to do, he can build one.
Turn them into bread and release a
Which is
flock
like-
of magpies was what I saw today. That was his plan. To eliminate
Yes.
beards because he couldn't grow facial hair. That was the
I can sympathize. Yeah.
that was the reason.
Excellent. Flawless logic.
Doofenshmirtz so much.
That's peak
He's just so
Doofenshmirtz right
bitter and
there.
angry. He just screws everyone over. Like, and it's always make everyone else ugly
Mostly
by
himself.
comparison. He could have made himself handsome with the gun. He's like, no, I'm gonna make everyone else ugly. Like, and then when the Ray,
He does have a handsome Ray in one episode.
He also once fused country and western music, and had like a hat that made him sing good.
I forgot about that one.
sorry, I like that. I like that.
Yeah,
Anything
like-
is possible. That is just the
Yeah.
the basis. And they literally have
If
episodes.
you can,
The Summer Belongs to You. That episode basically is we can do whatever we want. And Buford even goes, "You guys have to prove to me that you are beholden to the laws of physics like everybody else." And they're just like, "No." Like,
and honestly,
Nope.
like that
I'll
was
eat a bug.
the episode. That was the episode I was thinking of with Joe's answer. Is like, does that mean that there were just things in that episode that could not go right? Because that was the one episode where like Phineas is actually struggling with, like it was the
his limitations.
Almost-
You're struggling with
yeah
limitations.
almost every episode, like and this is something that Seth has talked about in his like how to write stories kind of pursuits. But he talks about a character needs a can't. Well, Phineas and Ferb don't have can'ts. It's all cans.
Elizabeth,
But
Candace, and Vanessa, and Doofenshmirtz.
Exactly. It's Doofenshmirtz and Candace are the ones with can'ts.
They're the main
Like-
characters.
Right. That's what makes them like they're not the titular characters, but they are like the main characters. They're the ones that have stuff they want to do that they never seem to be able to accomplish. It's the same reason you're kind of rooting for Wile E. Coyote
Yeah.
or like Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
They're the ones trying to do
Yeah.
something. Everyone else is just trying to stop them. But anyway, just like I love that like if Doofenshmirtz can imagine it, he can build a ray that will accomplish it.
Yeah.
And
An
that's
innator.
like I think a key magnet innator, like it drew like every key in the tri-state area to him, like, and that, which is another great world building point. But I'll
The
let
tri-state area.
The
is a classic
tri-state
world
area.
building
That's what
piece.
he's concerned
Yeah.
Oh,
about.
and the episode where they actually like where that like phraseology comes from, like why Doofenshmirtz wants to take over
John
the
P.
tri-state area.
Tri-State is like a human being, I think. I think
Oh, yeah.
that's what his name is.
No, that's wonderful. But yeah, that's definitely my.
AJ. What's something
Incredible.
that the show nailed? What's something that the show nailed?
Ooh, callbacks.
Oh,
Callbacks are 100% like what makes
floating
the show
baby
for
head.
me.
No.
Floating baby head.
Not that bad.
I have from What You Doing
Oh,
to
yeah.
Aren't You a Little Young for Such and Such to one of my favorites is The Farmer and the Wife. The farmer that's like the wife nagging him about like, why did you build a bunny farm but you didn't get a single freaking bunny? And then bunnies just rain from the sky, and he like looks over at her and she's like, what am I supposed to say?
It's got like
But
a limited form of that like aura that everything
Yeah.
goes right.
Yeah, exactly.
Built the bunny farm, just
He's-
hope for the best.
I think later on she's like, why didn't you just remember to get $1 million? And she looks up at the sky and he's like, that's not how it works. And she's like, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And that's why it's amazing. These callbacks are amazing. Because it brings that world closer. It allows what Dave was talking about with everything being possible, but it pulls it into what Joe was talking about with it like bringing it down to like a simple state of everything is contained within this tri-state area, but it makes it feel like a cozy small town because you keep seeing these recurring themes over and over again.
It's true. It makes it there's an intimacy to the show.
Yeah, like there's the episode where Doofenshmirtz is talking about a list of things that he wants to do, and he's like, "This one just says big laundry," and he has no idea why it was on the list. And then a couple episodes later, he literally makes the big laundry, and he has a whole story about why he wanted to do it. And it is the most small callback that like they didn't need to use that, but they absolutely set it up to deliver on that.
That's
The
that
way that
punchline.
like by like later seasons, they're just checking the list, like they're
From the
just
title.
checking boxes from the title sequence.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
that was actually going to be my thing about what they nailed, right? Like, so when I was getting ready to like watch the show, because it took me 12 years to watch Avatar, The Last Airbender. Like, and that was with. I've known Steph and AJ for around that much time, and they told me every day. Like, it's like, you need to watch
I'm pretty
this
sure
show.
I was using a cattle prod by the
Yeah, I
end.
know. I was
Like,
getting
it
physically
was-
assaulted in the street for not watching Avatar: The Last Airbender by strangers. But
Sorry about the hitmen. I
You're
called
that-
them all
you're that
off.
guy,
it's
aren't you?
okay.
You're that
You're that
guy.
guy that won't watch Avatar. But I just kind of didn't get around to it. Anyway, I watched it and loved it. But then like Phineas and Ferb was one of those ones where I was like, I'll give it a shot. People say it's good, and I'm like, I'm always looking for. I'm very big into. I love children's media that sparks kids' imaginations and like and encourages them to do cool stuff. Right? Like I like educational stuff. I like big Mr. Rogers fan, all that stuff. I love it, but I just want my kid to have a whacked out, crazy imagination as he grows
I
up.
know what an aglet is.
It's great. It's such a cool thing, and I want him to know that that's good. And so, like, Phineas and Ferb was great because, like, I sat down and watched it, and the entire conceit of the show, including Candace's insanity and the meta of the show, is completely covered in the very beginning. What are we gonna do? We're going to do it all, right? So it's like whatever happens, whatever they decide, I know what we're gonna do today, Ferb. Like that's that every day. It's a new thing. And then at the end, Candace, this is what really got me yelling, Mom, Phineas and Ferb are creating a title sequence. Like, it's just, I was like, the entire show, everything about the show that you need to know, with the exception of the Perry the Platypus Doofenshmirtz B plots, are completely contained in that moment. And like, I think, and I think this really speaks to Joe's point about it just being simple. Keep it simple. And like, that is exactly what they did. They laid it out completely. And from episode 1, the entire formula of the show is laid out to the point where we have essentially watched the same show. There's 200 episodes. We've watched the same format each time. And every time it's still so much fun. And like, they just nailed it. And apparently part of the reason why they're reviving the show, and understand it's a revival, it's not necessarily like an attempt to like advance much. They're just saying we're going to do another summer. Basically, it's like what they're saying.
Yeah, their tagline is it's probably going to be the next summer.
Yeah, and that's it. And their whole vibe for that was essentially they were just like, everybody just like watched this show through the pandemic, loved it. It was comfort viewing for them because it's the same thing over and over again. But at the same time, like, the callbacks, the way that they reward their fans, and like the way that like you know what's going to happen, but it always happens in such an off-kilter weird way that you're like, you know, Candace is never going to catch them. And like, it's just the best feeling ever when you're like, oh, it makes total sense that their roller derby got turned into a loaf of bread and then eaten by a flock of magpies right as Mom comes around the corner. And Phineas and Ferb,
it got up and it danced away. What? It got up and it danced away.
It got up and it danced away.
See? It's even crazy when you say it.
And like, even the stupid ones like Meepless in Seattle, where like they basically all they did was they created a fake trailer at the end of one of their episodes, and they just put a bunch of random scenes in it, and then they had, at the beginning of the episode, they said the animators had no intention of following through on any of these, and now they've got to do it themselves. And they actually did it though. They did like each shot, they like threw it in there. It was so good. And like, it was, I don't know, it is just,
it's Arrested Development for children.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, no, that's not far wrong. That's not far wrong. I think that's right on the money. It's too good. So look, here's the next one, and we're gonna hit AJ with it first. So it's a tough one though, because like I've got to be honest, I'm not sure I can think of anything. Where could they have done it better? What's something you wish they would have done?
So yeah, I'm with you. I couldn't think of anything, so I had to like pull from like weird random things that I like. I'm a sucker for time skips. There's an episode, one single episode, where they go into the future right before they're going to go off to college, and I want more of that. I want to know what they did in high school. I want to know if I want to see how the world changed around them.
We know Ferb turns up at Camp David for some reason. We don't know if he's consulting the president or is the president. But like, sorry, carry on.
Did they continue making ridiculous inventions? Did Candace finally bust them? Were their parents keen on their zaniness? Like, what all happened in between?
Yeah,
there?
it's one of those things where like you kind of want a Rugrats all grown up thing to happen.
Exactly.
Like there is an element like, so I don't know. Are we all Gravity Falls fans? Because if we're not, we ought to be. Gravity Falls is X-Files for kids. It's flipping incredible. But like,
that's a good way.
But also not for kids.
Yes. No.
It's really dark.
It is actually really dark. I won't show it to Josiah until he's probably like 11. I think I'm gonna wait because like at least that head with a giant arm on it that just goes, "I want you to get in my mouth." Get in my mouth is like the strangest crap.
Terrifying.
It's just weird. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna wait.
Snaps and turns someone's orifices all
inside out.
Yeah,
or topsy turvy.
But I can't even remember what I was gonna say about Gravity Falls. But So what happened was somebody put
skips.
together a really, really neat YouTube video where they had actually done like some stills of them growing up. And so you have like Dipper marrying Pacifica Northwest, which is like insanely cute, and her parents being like really pissed about it. And it's just it's an absolute delight. And like I would be kind of happy seeing something a little bit like that getting generated for Phineas and Ferb, because I'm also a really big fan of just being done with stuff. Like I don't mind things just being complete. Phineas and Ferb, I'm more open to a revival, in part because the show had a really straightforward formula. I think they can just do more of it. Like, and I think that would be
Absolutely.
okay by me, because it wasn't an episodic series, though. I feel like it had a fairly definitive end that, like,
But since they did kind of resolve things with Doofenshmirtz,
you are next,
I'm
by the way,
not
so you can
sure.
just ride this into your commentary. Keep going.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not sure what they'll do with like the Doofenshmirtz Perry dynamic if like they're working together now. Like they'll have to come up with a new formula, which is fine.
Well,
It might be tricky.
what about when what's his name? The bad guy from Meep, he gets out of his timeout and he becomes the new villain, which and speaks differently depending on which translation mustache he's wearing.
And then it'll be Perry and
Doofenshmirtz.
Cadet Doofenshmirtz
He's
trying
just
to
trying
foil
to
all of
teach
it.
Doofenshmirtz how to run through a door.
Dude, Doofenshmirtz is capable though. Like he fends off Perry like
He
pretty.
can fence with a baguette, which is pretty impressive.
He's actually like quite an impressive dude, even though his doctorate's not real and cost him $15. Like he's not actually Dr. Doofenshmirtz. He's just Doofenshmirtz.
There are other villains in Love Muffin,
Oh, okay.
though,
Yeah.
so...
That's true.
But yeah, so with that, sorry, Dave, do you want to talk about what you think they could have done better? Is it the floating baby head?
It is. It is the floating baby head and Klimpaloon, and like there's just
Klimpaloon, I hate
there were some
Klimpaloon.
things.
Balloony is awful.
Balloony is pretty terrible. But there's just like there's this weird line that I cannot define. It is totally a matter of personal taste, but there are times when things will just take the absurdity too far for me.
Yeah.
So this is like the same
The
thing where
sapient bathing suit, that a sapient old
Yeah.
timey bathing suit that wanders around the
Yeah,
Himalayas.
Lives in the Alps.
but like
Alps,
it's really
yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't know if I'm legally allowed to say this on Worldcraft Club, but like it's like similar to the problems I have with like Adventure Time. Like I just can't
It's just too
can't
much
accept that
uncanny.
there's like sapient candy. I don't know
It's too uncanny.
what to do with that. Yeah, so like there are just some things that it's like you just push the envelope a little too far, and like it's really just the other side of the coin of like the strength of the show.
Yeah.
Because like I mean these guys, Dan Povenmire and
Swampy.
Marsh, what's his? Yeah,
Jeff Marsh.
Jeff Marsh, yes. They were involved with Family Guy, and that like really comes through with like just the absurdity and the smash cuts and everything. And it's like that just you can see that both in like the positives and what I would consider like the negatives of the show. And again, it's totally a taste thing, but I just the like living bathing suits, it's just a little too much for me. Like a Ray that turns beard into Brett, that's that's maybe acceptable, but
Perfectly fine.
yeah. So yeah, that would be my since you asked, that is my curmudgeonly complaint. But yeah, just absolutely love the show as a whole.
All right, and Joe, what do you think they could have done better?
Well, I couldn't find a single flaw in their world
Because it's
building.
simple.
It's just very so. I mean, if I was going to say, okay, yeah, change something, I would say less with the world building and more with just. I'd love to see more of the side stories where we see because they do such a great job with the characters. I mean, each of the characters is just so clean, right? So distinct. Like within 2 minutes of them being on screen, what their story is, and it carries through the entire series. And they're not like, well, maybe we'll have they're all clean, and they're perfect. But I would love to see, more stories where, like, two of the characters pair up and do something. They do that a little bit here and there,
like an Isabella and Jeremy sort of like side mission would be, or they could take Baljeet and Buford and do a montage where they put it to Gravity.
Series.
Here I am. That'd be perfect.
Except it's actually Baljeet singing.
Something always takes me back to you. It never takes too long. You touch me for a little while. See, like a supine bike? Why aren't there people lining up to beat you up?
I also like just Buford knows words like supine bike, which I would not have been able to come up with. Like he's supposed.
All of the characters
great
are
thing,
intelligent. Every one of them is intelligent, including Candace.
And and Joe's like totally right. Like you can tell who the character is as soon as you meet them, but then they subvert like all your expectations.
Yeah.
And like that's part of what's so great about like Doofenshmirtz as well. But like, yeah, you definitely see it with Buford. Like the longer you know Buford, the more you see him sweat out of his eyes. And like just like what a beautiful character he is.
I love how dichotomous everything is with this show. It's so simple, except it's massively complex, and it's so cool.
And this is the reality: is that simplicity allows for complexity, right? Like that's the thing: is that because they have such a very basic and it is in the theme tune. Everything you need is in the theme tune, and like that's the formula. And because they operate on a very explicit formula and the characters are carved out and they all have catchphrases and stuff, they are allowed to play scat jazz with it. Because like I'm gonna tell you this, like you can listen to any type of music you want, got the same 8 notes. You know what I mean? Like that's Phineas and Ferb, man. Like it's beautiful. They're playing scat jazz, but they just it's the same 8 tropes. Like like that's it. Like that's what
the episode where Buford says what you doing is obviously scared of Isabella, who's like half his
like
everyone should be scared.
Doesn't she like glare at him then?
Isabella is the most competent character in that entire show. Like she needs to be a CEO. Essentially, like Isabella is a force to be reckoned with. Her and the Fireside
Isabella
Girls.
Garcia Shapiro.
Yes,
she is already part of like a spec ops team. It's CEO might be like a downgrade.
Yeah, exactly. Like exactly.
And she's Jewish and Hispanic, and they honor both of her backgrounds, and that's just like amazing.
Like, the first time you meet Mrs. What was it? Garcia Shapiro. The mixture of of just cultures like in that home is just made really apparent, and it's like just so solid.
They lean into it.
There are dreidel maracas in one episode.
Incredible.
All right, Steph, what should they improve?
So I really wish I had a good answer, but like everybody else, it's so solid. So I think my only note, it's not even a complaint, it's just I have so many questions that I don't think they need to be answered, but like I'm very curious about. Like I want to know what happened with Candace and Phineas's original dad. Like no one talks about it. It's not even a thing. It is absolutely not even really addressed, except in one episode where they show Linda marrying Ferb's dad, whose name escapes me, unfortunately. And they just blend the family, and it's awesome, and they just kind of go with it, and there's nothing. Why does Clint Balloon exist? Why is that a thing? I think he's amazing. I think he's a great character. But, like, there's no explanation. There's no backstory. It's just old-timey bathing suit that lives in the Himalayas. Everyone accepts this. This is just a thing. Not even a big deal.
Well, I think the part of the problem was, like, they wanted a cryptid, and if it was just Bigfoot, that was, like, way too basic for Phineas and Ferb.
Specifically an old-timey bathing suit with a face in the chest. Like, what?
They had Bigfoot in it at one point too, so
and also like a Loch Ness monster equivalent.
Yeah,
it's really really solid. Like this, the show, like this is the thing is like I honestly I had a really hard time like even thinking of literally anything, and honestly you guys kind of like covered it. It's again.
And some questions you do have just get answered, like how does Doofenshmirtz afford all of this? His wife's alimony because he's divorced. That was
the best part.
I love that they're like, no, this we are
alimony.
Going to explain.
Like, yeah, it's interesting. They just pick and choose what they're going to explain, refuse to explain tons of other things, like obstinately refuse to explain a lot of the stuff that you kind of want explained. And again, it comes back to the simple principle: is you're not here to have that stuff really explained. When they do, it demonstrates the clear love they have for their fans and for their material, and like
it's thought out, intentional.
Yeah, and it is wonderful to see, and it's again for my son. I just can't recommend the show enough because like I just love honestly the good kiddery that goes on in there makes me really, really happy. They make fun of the sullen teenagers that hate their parents, and like it's amazing because they've only watched French art films, so they don't know how to respond to horror movies. So I'm just gonna slowly back up into a darkened room. I'm gonna explore this bathroom. We should split up. Like it's just like, so I forgot you guys have never seen a horror movie, so you're not ready at all for the Night of the Living Pharmacists. Like, and it's yeah, I don't know. I could gush about the show forever. So we're gonna close us out on kind of a dual question here. You've got to get a Phineas and Ferb tattoo. You've got to get inked. It's gonna be a Phineas and Ferb like tattoo. What are you gonna get, Steph?
I thought a lot about this, and I came up with the perfect thing.
It was the best question I thought of for
and
this.
It's amazing. I love it. I would just get a potted plant with a little fedora. And that would be it. It would have no text. It would have no explanation. So people who saw it would know what was going on, and people who didn't know would be like, why is there a plant wearing a hat? But that's it. Planty the potted plant, standalone in all of his beautiful leafy glory, would be my tattoo.
That's beautiful. And do you have an unhinged theory to throw at us?
I wish I did. I think there must be some sort of secret in they have with the contractors. They just keep ignoring the fact that they're too young for this. And the contractors are just like, well, we're getting paid. We don't care.
100%.
Got to be some sort of unspoken rule there. Some contract.
Ferb's paying him because he's the guy with the cash. We need more roughage. Ferb just throws him a wad of cash. Like, incredible.
Yep.
All right. Joe, what you got? What is your tattoo and your unhinged conspiracy theory?
Right. So my tattoo, I was torn between Perry.
Oh yeah.
Because he's my favorite
super
character.
Tempting. Easy to do.
Or just the fedora.
Yeah.
You know, just because
nice.
it's yeah, I love fedoras anyway. But so my unhinged conspiracy theory. So this is, I think that Phineas and Ferb are actually the de-aged versions of themselves that they sent back in time so that they could have more adventures in the summer with all of the knowledge that they've, you know, they're obviously very smart, but like, you know, and I feel like something out of my my original statement about the field that they emanate. I think that that's not an accident, and it may have something to do with Milo. You know, when they discovered that the field existed, like their future selves were like, you know, it's a bit of a paradox, but I love paradoxes with time travel. So like, and the Milo Murphy show is just riddled with paradoxes because there's time travel features pretty
Very
largely
heavily.
in that show. Yeah. So I think that they went back in time as themselves, and you know are just making summers even that much more amazing. And it explains how they have all the money, you know, because they obviously can time travel and just like, you know, dumped their allowance into like, I don't know, Apple stock in 1980 something or whatever. Like, who knows what they did, but like, yeah. So that's my theory is they're actually time traveled young versions of themselves that
I think that's legit great. I think that also is plausible within the logic of the show, and it makes sense because like part of the reason I love the show is it is like a middle-aged person's fantasy. When you're like I learned all of the cool skills and like patience and ability to complete things after I had no time to do anything as like a parent. So like I think back, I'm like, if I was 18 again, I would have gotten much better grades. You know, I was like, I probably would have done much more important things because now I know how to use time. Like, you give me an hour, I'm like, I'm washing the car, I'm getting something done, I'm paying a bill, I'm like doing something. Back then, nah. Like, it's incredible. All right, Dave, tattoo, unhinged conspiracy theory.
Okay, time to see if this works.
Oh yeah.
Platypus.
Sweet. Oh!
Perry the
So for
platypus.
those of you,
Hold on.
for
Amazing.
those of you
Let me
purely,
screenshot that so I can take it to the.
oh yeah, you got to,
To the pile.
yeah, you got to take a screenshot of it.
Fantastic.
So for those who are only able to listen, because this is a podcast as well, what we have is Dave has drawn on his palm Perry the platypus, sans
Very well.
yeah, quite a solid drawing, sans his trademark fedora, and then he has drawn the fedora on his thumb that he may apply the fedora to his palm drawn Perry. That is exquisite. Well done.
Incredible.
Well done. Very impressed.
Thank you.
All right.
I was really excited about that concept.
Beautifully done. I want that one. I've changed mine. It's like, carry on.
Yeah, it's hard to come up with an unhinged conspiracy theory for a show that is in and of itself
An unhinged.
unhinged.
Yeah, it's a fever dream. Yeah.
So one thing that I'm stealing this from the internet, from some user of Tumblr or Twitter or something. I don't remember where it was originated, but the idea is just that instead of law enforcement, Perry the platypus is actually like Doofenshmirtz's therapist.
I like that
That he
idea.
just helps him work through his issues because like
Every one of
he
his
gets
things
something
is
off his chest.
yeah.
Yeah, he has a legitimate grievance, wants to take care of it in an unhealthy way, gets it off his chest, it literally blows up in his face, and then he just moves on to the next like thing. Like every episode is basically a therapy session for Doofenshmirtz.
Yeah.
Like-
and we all want him to get better. That's the thing is his backstory
like-
is really sad. Neither of his parents were present at his birth.
Doofenshmirtz's garden gnome was my backup for a
Oh,
tattoo.
that would be
Yes.
an excellent tattoo. That would-
Doofenshmirtz's garden gnome was the
That was my
backup.
choice. That was I've got a backup though. I've got a backup choice in case that one got mentioned. Because Doofenshmirtz is a garden gnome would be my favorite like, tattoo ever to get. Just like on my ankle.
It would be fantastic.
Because it would just be again. It's like the potted plant. If you know. You know, and the only thing I would have as well is a finger pointing at it. Like it would be the other one. Just shut up, stop moving. I really like that. Perry the platypus. It makes a lot of sense as well. I like that. I like that a lot. And he's often like Perry. Also, will always help Doofenshmirtz when he asks, and especially when it comes to his daughter. So like that's something a therapist would do, right?
And he's definitely like they're not like Okwa or Alqua, however we're saying this. Alka. They are not government because if they are, they're like black ops because I have never once seen Perry the platypus serve a warrant.
I'm certain that Alka
Busts
is
his
just
way in.
Monogram training animals and buying fedoras. Like I am quite
No.
certain that is what is happening.
I think you're
like
right.
and
Like it's like Love Muffin and Alqua are just like two like competing groups of middle-aged men having midlife crises.
that completely adds up.
There's my unhinged conspiracy theory.
Yeah, because Francis Monogram absolutely that is like all he does. Like there is no way that is any more, especially because like the things.
What happened?
Well, did you lose us?
What happened at the academy is just that he got kicked out of the academy
Because he
like,
kept
first
trying
day.
to train animals to wear fedoras and fight crime. It's like the other thing is Candace is constantly trying to catch Phineas and Ferb. She's trying to bust them. Most of the time, they're not actually doing anything wrong. Like it's just like it's dangerous, but they are really they love Candace and they are trying their best to help her. Like every time they just really want to be
They
Candace's
always
friends.
wear helmets.
And they expect Candace to enjoy it. They like build a chariot just for her in the chariot race one, and they're like ready, even though it's like Medusa, but like they're still like, which is like, you know, a little bit of, it's very much a little brother kind of thing. But that was actually sort of out of character. They usually just adore Candace and like treat her really kindly.
The treehouse episode is a great
I
example
loved
of that.
one. And then
Yeah.
Doofenshmirtz as well. They're just like, was it Agent P? Doofenshmirtz has bought several laser pointers. Go and get him. And it's just like, and he is doing something shady with it. It's just the fact that like, if I just bought tons of laser pointers and someone was like, why are you buying all those laser pointers? Like, we're coming for you. It's like, why? It'll be like, Doofenshmirtz has been quiet lately.
Serious
Go get
Fourth
him.
Amendment violations. That's
Yeah, there's no government association with Alka at all. All right, so AJ,
No.
what you got? Tattoo, unhinged theory.
All right, tattoo. Steph actually gave me this idea earlier today. Norm, which is Dr. Doofenshmirtz's big robot, and Kronk from Emperor's New Groove, comparing pastries. Norm's muffins and Kronk's spinach muffs.
I do really like that one. I think honestly,
But I'd have to.
like having a Kronk sneaking somewhere tattoo would be incredible. Like just sneaking, like up against the wall.
singing his own music.
It's just- we have to do
I'd
Emperor's
have
New
to get
Groove.
a
We have to. Like that's got to be like
Yes.
the next one because that
Yep.
the production on that movie was
So good.
insane. It was
We
insane.
also need to do 2017 DuckTales, but that could honestly just be you and me sitting down and having a serious conversation.
2017 DuckTales was top tier.
I actually would like to do that one next because like I love that and I will probably watch it with my son again just to enjoy it.
I would
Yeah,
rewatch
dude,
it,
it's
yeah.
gold. But anyway, AJ, unhinged conspiracy theory.
Glom Gold.
Women.
Yeah. I'd have to get a follow-up tattoo, though, with, like, Dr. Doofenshmirtz and Yzma, like, both performing in the background.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Yes, no, that's amazing.
My wife is cackling occasionally in the background. She has like left the room twice because of your tattoo contest.
It is good though. It is so good. Yeah.
Those are great.
Unhinged conspiracy theories. I really didn't have any either. I saw one randomly like 10 minutes before this stream. I saw it's super depressing though. The idea is that Phineas and Ferb are Candace's brothers that have died, and all of their wacky antics are just her having schizophrenia, and that's why her parents never see what's going on.
That's devastating.
That is the
I
worst.
know. Like, I don't even know why I wrote this down. That was so terrible.
Nice, AJ. Yeah, the
But
best
I
tattoo
saw
though.
it, so-
You probably had like
I
think
know,
so.
but the
Like,
worst unhinged theory.
Yeah, like, it's the saddest unhinged. So it's so.
We laughed, we
Yeah,
cried.
I know. It was just, there were so many emotions I went to. To be fair, that's another thing I love about this show is that like I've actually genuinely watched it and been like, that's actually really touching. Like the anniversary episode where they brought together the concert and they like.
Oh,
God.
yeah. Getting the
Yeah.
band back
I
together is top
Loved
tier.
it. Like genuinely was.
There's
And the
like
music in that one is
4 great
Chef's
And
songs. Yeah.
they legit like
I
also
agree.
original song every single episode. And so which brings me to my tattoo idea. It's Perry the Platypus with a fedora and a sweatband on his side doing that leg raise thing where it's like the thing, you know, where you're laying down, he's going like this. It's like one of those and he's just laying there doing that. Like, and that's it. That's my tattoo idea. And again, it's just because of the like if you know, you know thing. It also has one of the best songs in the series, which is sweat baby, drench that fat, bring it out, take it to the laundromat. Like it's just like it's so good. Like it's just they clearly like I think the show. And I think if there's one like takeaway to this, and my unhinged conspiracy theory was actually kind of sort of closely related to AJ, but it was just more like Candace is just delusional. Like was just like where I was going with it. It's just like she just imagines all of this taking place. But there are other characters that see them do it. Like the grandparents get involved, and like Dad occasionally turns up and he goes, "Let's check in with your mother." He calls up and says, "She says it's good. Let's jump in." Like I think and Linda's just like, "What?" Like it's Linda. Linda is the only one who doesn't see everything happening. So.
Yeah.
Linda's whole family's dead, and she's just in a delusional
Oh no!
Oh,
That's what's
jeez.
happening.
It's getting worse.
Listen, if
Well, the only time in the whole series that I'm aware of that the parents were like in on the craziness was the episode that you mentioned with the concert.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is it was actually what's her name?
Candace.
Their friend.
Oh,
No.
Stacy?
Yeah, the Girl Scout or whatever
Isabella.
it is.
Oh, the Fireside Girls?
Isabella. Right? Yeah, it was Isabella and the Fireside Girls who actually like built the stage and everything.
Yep.
And I mean, just to state that Isabella would have been like my follow-up
yeah.
favorite character. Like
She's incredible.
She builds the time machine based on like the instructions that they sent for. I mean, it was like like they could do. Yeah, Isabella was not a second-tier character.
No.
Like she was as capable. She did everything like just great there. But yeah,
Oh,
it was
the episode.
the time machine. Sorry, not time machine.
Forget the name of it, but the episode where they did like it was two parts, but it was the same time frame, and it just one was from
Different
one
perspectives.
point, like Phineas and Ferb, and one was Isabella and the Fireside Girls.
Oh yeah.
And it was I really enjoyed those episodes where they just like went back and showed you what was happening, like an opposite.
Behind the scenes look almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's neat the way they do that in the show. I do like it. It is an exceptional show, and as I say, if there's one takeaway that can really be really ripped out of this, it's like if you keep your concept simple, you know what you're trying to make, you have a one tag byline that you are using, simple sentence, like you can create an awful lot of actually very complicated and pretty intricate stuff, just as long as you operate off that basis. I think as well, Phineas and Ferb did not shy away from tropes, but rather leaned into them and played with them in a way that was just meta enough to be really funny, but also quite immersive and in-world. There's one point where Doofenshmirtz makes a joke based on something someone said when he wasn't there. He then makes a point that he made the joke based on something that happened when he wasn't there, and they just move on. Like, and the show is just
Fourth wall virtually non-existent.
yeah, it's they have a very porous fourth wall, and but they get away with it because the opening sequence is literally Candace yelling at Phineas and Ferb for creating a title sequence. And like they establish the rules at the very beginning. This is the type of show you're watching. This is the kinds of things that will happen in this show. And like the remarkable thing is you would assume you'd get bored, but because of their simple formula, they're able to play with it infinitely. Like it stretches. It'll keep. And it's like, again, like a million different stories, same 8 tropes. You know what I mean? Like, and it's gold. It just says like you can come up with a formula and you can keep running it. So with that, I'll call us out here. And for AJ, Dave, Joe, and Steph, I'm James. It's been another episode of the Worldcraft Club podcast. Happy April Fool's Day, and thank you so much for joining us. We're all very regular at our house.